What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back with another video, and today you guys see the title. I'm going to be talking about teams and whether or not they need a bunch of physical players on their team, or if they need to fight, sandpaper type of players all throughout their lineup, because this is a big discussion that happens with teams that have a ton of skilled players. And I know already half of the people that are watching this are Toronto Maple Leaf fans, because that's where a lot of the viewership for my videos comes from. And I think there's also a lot of people here that would think that I would be completely against it because of the way that I've talked in my videos. Now, I'm not. But there's also two sides to everything. So before you go and comment, please listen to what I have to say and let's have a normal conversation. I posted a video about Babcock the other day, and people don't even watch the video. They click pause, they comment, they don't even know what I'm saying because they don't care to listen. But I really want to hear what you have to say down below, but please, let's have this as a actual conversation. So a lot of people look at certain teams and they think, man, these guys are really skilled, they have a bunch of guys that can score, but none of them are physical threats, none of them fight. But if you look at the numbers in the NHL, there's not a lot of teams right now that have a bunch of guys that can fight on the roster, or guys that want to fight. The numbers for fights in the NHL have gone down every single year. We've seen it. And if they haven't gone down, they've been around the same, but it's a drastic change from like 5 or 6 years ago. Fighting and fighters in particular are pretty much out of the game. There's not a ton of them that are around, and people will turn and say, well, there's guys like Reeves and this, that, and the other. Okay, sure. But at the same time, they're not fighting every single game, and nor should they. I think a lot of people look at the entertainment value, and that's the only thing that they look at. And this is the new style that I like to do on my channel, by the way, just talking from the heart. I have some numbers here, but I want to give you guys my general opinion, because I played hockey my whole life. I've seen some pretty dangerous injuries. I've watched dangerous injuries in, live games, NHL, whatever. But, I've seen some of people that I know, get taken out with bad hits or poor decisions, or guys that are out there just to, to hurt people. And that it's not really fun to watch. Again, I probably just lost my train of thought, but a guy like Ryan Reeves, he shouldn't be fighting every game, and he doesn't, for good reason. With all the CTE research and all the stuff that's going on with like concussions and people getting hurt, like, hockey's dangerous. I was one of those people that growing up, I loved watching fights. I loved watching guys like Darcy Tucker, Ty Domi, although now, if you look back at some of the stuff he did, he was not exactly the cleanest player, with the sucker punches and everything like that. It's not exactly a great thing to cheer for. It never was, and it never will be. I've lost some of my favorite hockey players that I've watched, because of depression and anxiety and all this stuff like this, because of it starts up here. The mental health is a huge thing, and this is the reason why I don't believe that fighting is the best thing for the game anymore, because of the mental side of things. Like, these people have families. There's people who just watch these hockey games and say, well, these guys should be fighting, these guys should be punching each other's faces in. Well, it's like, do you guys understand like how much that hurts? Do you guys get into fights? Do you guys know how, the impact of what it is to get hit in the head? Like, it sounds so silly when you sit there and say that all these guys should be tough guys. It doesn't make sense. Now, there is a flip side to that, where although they shouldn't be tough guys, they should throw the body around, they should get a little physical face wash here and there, get under somebody's skin. But that's not what should be filling out an entire roster. And people always go, well, the Leafs, I'm going to use them as an example. The Leafs will never go to the next level because they don't have guys that are gritty. They don't got guys that will get in and, throw a face wash around. Let me remind you guys of something. The Leafs have had a handful, or not really a handful, because, no, I'll argue a handful of different styles of teams over the years. Now, if you look back to the first time the Maple Leafs made the playoffs in a long time, and that was, that series where Boston, the big collapse in Game 7 where they were up 4-1. Like, let's just talk about that one, okay? The Leafs had a bunch of guys on that roster that could fight, that could hit, and that could, get a little gritty if they needed to. Where did that get them? It got them nowhere. Again, they weren't as skilled, but if you guys want to have a bunch of guys that can fight and hit and have sandpaper, whatever, it didn't do them any good then. Like, I mean, they didn't do anything then. But what happens when these guys go out there and get in fights? They're in the box, whatever. What are they doing? Like, they're just sitting there. They're not helping you whatsoever. And, people turn around and say, well, look at them now. They don't really have any guys like that. It's like, I don't know what you're watching, but I've seen Andreas Janssen get under people's skin. I've seen Zach Hyman do the same thing. He'll hit. I've seen Kapanen throw some hits. Trevor Moore isn't afraid to hit. Timashov isn't afraid to hit. Freddie the Goat's not afraid to hit. Hell, even when Zaitsev was here, he would throw the body around a little bit. People argue, well, they got rid of Nazem Kadri. Well, guess what? He cost the Leafs 2 playoff series in a row, and he was my favorite player. You kind of have to have, you can't have a bias. Nazem Kadri was my favorite. But at the same time, you have to realize he went too far. He protected his teammates, and what did it get him? Suspensions. He was playing really good too, but it gets you a suspension. So you need to find guys that are the happy medium of that. Guys that can fight if it has to happen, guys that will hit, and guys that have talent. And this is where the argument of look at the Bruins and look at the Blues comes in. Guys, you can't make that argument every time. There's teams that can win because they have gritty sandpaper type of players that actually have talent. Like, if you look at the roster, okay, for the St. Louis Blues this year, Ryan O'Reilly, that guy's not afraid to hit, but he's insanely skilled. He can win faceoffs and he can put up points. He's not a soft player. I mean, let's look at David Perron. That guy can get under your skin like nobody else. Can he put up points? He did for the Blues. How about Tyler Bozak? He's not the toughest guy, but he'll hit. Braden Shen, talent and an absolute a-hole out there. He'll hit, and if he needs to fight, I guess he would. Patrick Maroon. Guys, Patty Maroon. He's the same thing, skilled, and he can hit. Guys, I could keep going here. Look at the Bruins. Brad Marchand. The guy can put up 95 points, and he's not afraid to hit and fight and get under your skin. He's pretty much the best at it in the whole NHL. Look at Torrey Krug. That guy's a maniac out there. He'll hit anybody. Charlie McAvoy. It doesn't matter. He'll get under your skin. Jake DeBrusk. The list goes on and on, guys. You have to find the players that are talented and they don't grow on trees. People are like, oh, well, just, trade Nylander for a guy like this. That's not proper asset management. You have to find guys that actually that are, expendable on your team and find a match with somebody that's on the same talent level or has at least a little bit of grittiness that can offset the talent level. A little bit. It can't be a lot because you're not trading a talented player for a guy that just hits people. That doesn't make sense. That's not good asset management. That's why the Leafs picked up Brian Boyle a couple of years ago. He's not a soft player. He'll go in there and hit, but he's a fourth line guy. The Leafs don't need to go after a fourth line grinder type of guy. They already have a couple guys that will go in there and do that type of job. And I also would argue that the Leafs are still growing. Like, you have to remember, they're young. You never know. Some of these guys could turn into a little bit grittier as they get older. They're getting comfortable with the game. Like, let's just put it this way. And people are not going to agree with this. If the Leafs were to make any move like this, I first of all believe that Cody Ceci has to go, because that will clear up some cap space. Then you can make an offsetting trade for a talented player while taking away somebody like a Kasperi Kapanen. And I know that's going to take a lot of people off. Or you go into your minor league pool and you look at a guy like Jeremy Bracco and say, okay, let's try to find a gritty guy that can put up some points. Jeremy Bracco is one of our, biggest prospects down there. People know that he's a really, power play specialist. He can pass the puck, and he's a guy that might be able to put up some points for you on another team. You never know, right? You have to figure out ways to do it like that. But the Leafs are not just going to trade away a talented player for some guy that hits. Like, it doesn't make sense. The talent that the Leafs have right now should be getting them to the next level. It hasn't been. And this is where I brought up the coaching stuff. But this all isn't just about the Leafs. Like I mentioned, teams that are built properly, like the Blues, like the Bruins, teams that can hit, they can fight if they need to, but they also have that talent level. They have the talent. So you need to find the happy medium. Not all your players need to be tough guys. Not all of them need to fight. Not all of them need to do whatever. It has to be a happy medium. There has to be a balance. So hopefully you guys understand my opinion on this, and I want to hear yours, because it kind of sucks when I have to respond to a comment and I can't, type for 10 minutes as, I can talk for 10 minutes on a video. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new, make sure to subscribe. I'd love to have more hockey conversations with you. Join the squad. Let's get to 7,000 subscribers. I appreciate you guys as always, and I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Peace.